back to winter afternoon. We had spring Tuesday and Wednesday, and now we're back to winter. Anyway, welcome. I am super excited because I get to introduce our presenter today, and we have the most amazing person to present for you guys. She is actually a professor, an associate professor here at UVU in the School of Education. She specializes in adolescent development and brain-based learning and technology. So she's super, super smart and has a lot to share with you guys. She also has 2 amazing children, and she loves to activate kids' creativity with technology. So I know that you are going to appreciate and learn a lot from her, and this is the fabulous Dr. Susie Cox, and I'm just excited for you guys to learn from her. So give her a big round of applause and welcome.
Okay. I'm going to avoid using the mic if that's okay with you. I hate mics. I'm a teacher. I can do it. Okay. She oversold that, so please lower your expectations significantly. I appreciate that. Okay. Your teachers asked me to come and present to you quite a while ago. I've been thinking for a long time about what would be most beneficial to you to get out of this presentation. So our focus today is going to be on digital writing, but really how can we engage students in the writing process and in thinking creatively using the technological tools that are out there. So we're going to be talking about not only project ideas and technologies that we can be using with our kids, but also how we can do these creative projects in a way that still meets the core standards. I know that's a concern for all of us. Maybe it's not quite concerning to you yet, but once you get out there, wow, that's one of your primary concerns. How do I make sure that I cover the core, that I address the standards, and my students are meeting those standards? And quite frankly, the ELA Common Core is aggressive. It is high-level curriculum that we're supposed to be teaching these kids. And paper and pencil testing is not going to tell me if my kids are meeting those high levels of writing proficiency. So we've got to come at it from different angles. So what we're going to do today is kind of go through what some of these projects might look like that we can have the kids create. And then we're going to do a crazy idea fest at the end. Doesn't it? Does that work? Okay. Yeah. I'm going to get my exercise in running back and forth, back and forth.
You want me to do that?
Maybe. Okay. All right. So according to the International Reading Association, one of our big governing or at least advising bodies, to become fully literate in today's world, students must become proficient in the new literacies of 21st century technologies. So not only now are you as teachers responsible for teaching basic literacies regarding reading and writing, but you also have to teach them these technological literacies as well. So we've got tons of standards and guidelines telling us what those are supposed to be. The Common Core is chock full of references to technology. If you haven't taken a deep look at it yet, it's all through both the English Language Arts Common Core and the math, woven throughout. So that is now, we're going to be held accountable for giving kids some of these skills. But there have been technology-oriented standards for a long time. So if you're in your 3250 class or have taken that, the instructional media, I'm sure you've heard of some of these. The ISTE National Educational Technology Standards. There are standards that we're supposed to be getting our students to with regard to creativity and ethical behavior online, things like that. The Utah Educational Technology Standards. You know when you go to UEN and you look at all the core, and then you just go to the reading part or the math part, and so if you keep scrolling down, there's an ed tech core for the kids that most of us don't even ever look at, but it is there that we're supposed to be teaching, okay? And then, of course, also 21st century skills. So at the end of the last century, which makes me sound extraordinarily old, but that's okay. Business leaders, education leaders got together and said, okay, what we're doing right now for our students is not cutting it. They're getting to college unprepared. They're graduating from college unprepared for the job market, for the real world. What do kids actually need to be able to do? Communication, creativity, critical thinking and problem solving, technological literacy. These are the types of things that they are steering us toward. So as we talk about using technology to enhance writing, we're not just talking about using tech because it's the new big thing, or because the kids like it. That's the worst excuse I know of for using technology. We use it because kids use it. Really? Do you also use Legos? Okay, sometimes I go to class. I'm trying to think of a kid's toy and don't use in my classroom. But there are all kinds of things that the kids use we're not using instructionally, right? We use tech when it matters, when it means something, when it's going to help our kids do something powerful. That's what we use it for. So as we start to think about using it for writing, that's our big question. How can we use it in a meaningful way? All right, so as we start to look at the Common Core, I told you it was woven all throughout, right? So just a couple of quotes from it. Just as media and technology are integrated in school and life in the 21st century, skills related to media use are integrated throughout standards. Big, long one. I'll let you read it. Does that sound like what most kids you know use technology for? Okay, that's the issue, isn't it? Okay? We have what I call the old people problem. And I count you as old people in this instance, okay? Some of you are what we consider digital natives, so you've kind of grown up with the devices in your pockets, but not to the extent of the modern children and adolescents, right? Literally grown up with these devices in their pockets. That means their brains function differently, right? It means that they understand technology differently, they approach it differently. But it also means that because they are more comfortable generally with technology than adults are, they kind of usurped the tech and made it a device for entertainment. And then as old people come along, we're like, what's that doing for? And they say, it's for entertainment. We go, okay. Because we don't know any better, right? So we have to stop being the old people in the equation and start taking the lead and finding creative ways to use this productively. So when it comes down to how we use technology for writing, it's really all about creating. That's the power that technology gives us with regard to writing. Most kids are not motivated to write in the classroom. Why? Because they write it on a piece of paper, they turn it into their teacher, no one ever sees them, no one uses it. It's not very exciting because it's their sloppy handwriting on a piece of paper, right? So how can we get them creating things with the tech and address the core at the same time? So, here's the answer. Okay. I want you, before I show this, to keep in mind that this was created by first graders. First graders, okay? 6 years old. And then I want you to think about what actually went into the creation of this very simple product. All right, let's start. So click that big red play, Nancy.
Oh, it didn't do it? Sorry. I probably did the right.
Yeah, Mike.
This is a project about manatees. Manatees have thick wrinkles. They are very large and red. They eat plants that are underwater. Manatees live in Florida where the water is warm. They give birth to live babies. Manatees are very gentle. Manatees breathe out of their nose. Manatees live up to 60 years. We have learned a lot about manatees.
My favorite one is manatees give birth to live babies. Okay. Very, very simple. The language wasn't advanced. The script wasn't innovative necessarily, right? But let's reverse engineer it. What actually? Yep. Click the little. Sorry. No worries. Yeah, you can see it.
This is a project about manatees.
There we go. called project-based learning, which hopefully you've heard about. What we're looking at here is called project-based learning. And we use project-based learning to actually teach students through the creation of a project. Rather than teaching them about stuff and then having them make a project at the end, they're using the project to learn, okay? So this particular project started with some essential questions in the classroom. What might have been the essential question that drove the creation of that particular project? What do we know about manatees? Okay, now if I tell you that not every group of students created a video about manatees, what do we know about animals? Good. Okay. We might even go up another layer and say, what do we know about living and non-living things? Right? Okay, so it starts with an essential question. And then the teacher says something like, I want you to pick your favorite living thing or your favorite animal and teach the rest of us about it. Okay? Now it becomes the student's task to go out, do the research, learn about the animal, write everything, and create this project. So we're going to go through the steps to see what that looks like. And what I'm showing you at the bottom is the Common Core that actually went into each of these individual steps. Okay? All right. So they pick their topic, and in this case, they're collaborating with group members. You can hear the different voices in that project, which is an important component of this. So as they start to do the research, your job as a teacher is to guide them toward multiple and varied sources of information, both online and offline, right? They can look at books and still okay, but also looking at internet sites and things like that. That can get a little scary to us as teachers sometimes, to think that our kids are going out and researching on the web. But we can create things like virtual tours, which is basically just a page of websites that you want them to go and use, that you've kind of vetted in advance and know they'll give you the right info. Or you could use a custom Google search engine. So one of our tools within the Google Apps for Education is the custom Google search engine. So you say, okay, here's a bunch of sites that I've looked at in advance and approved. I'm going to send my kids to this custom search engine, and only those sites will come up. But then within those, only the sites that have the information on manatees, right? So if they search on manatees, it'll just be from that batch. So we too are kind of stepping up and using the tech in this instance. Look at 3 more core standards that we just covered. Okay, now believe it or not, they're going to encounter some words they haven't heard of before. They're doing this research. So they can leverage, regular paper dictionaries or the web. Word Central is a fantastic online dictionary for younger children. Okay, so that's a great resource for you. And that's right there in the Common Core too, that they're acquiring new vocabulary, they know how to look up definitions of words, things like that. Now, at this point, even at the first grade level, we're going to start teaching them to evaluate their sources. This is one thing that concerns us as kids go online and do internet research. They just pull the first 3 websites they find about manatees, whether they're valid or not. So we've got to start teaching them very early how to evaluate those resources. At the first grade level, you're going to mediate a lot of that. So you're going to ask them questions like, well, how do you know that the information on this website is true? Have you seen the same information on another website? Who made this website, right? So you'll be asking them questions so that as they go forward and age and keep doing their own research, they're thinking those questions in their own heads. Okay? As they get older and we get up into the upper grades, they can be more independent with that. And there's some great resources that you can find for helping kids evaluate internet resources. So I'm going to put this presentation up on my website. The URL will be at the end, and you guys can have it with all the links and stuff in it, okay? But Kathy Schrock's Guide to Everything on the Internet has several different website evaluation metrics that kids can use, okay? All right, then they finally start actually writing things. Good. And of course, they're citing their sources. They may have a little wiki version of an annotated bibliography, right? They've been taking notes about what they got from each website they went to. But now as they start to write, they've got to be aware of the organization and the flow of their ideas, who their audience is going to be. They can use different tools to help them pre-write and then engage in the actual writing process. So we've got things like Kidspiration and Inspiration. That's a fairly inexpensive piece of software that lets kids do kind of concept mapping. What I love about that particular piece of software is that the kids can create either a bubble map or an outline, and it'll make the reverse automatically. So our visual thinkers can create their pre-writing in bubble map form, and it'll turn it into an outline for their paper. Okay? Our more verbal thinkers can do the outline, and it'll turn it into the bubble map so they can see the correlations between the two. It's pretty cool. There are online versions of that too. Webspiration is an online version, and then they can actually collaborate on the bubble map together over the web. Okay? And there are lots of other apps that do concept mapping, websites, etc. Using Google Docs, yes, even as early as first grade. Okay? Most of the districts around here have moved or are moving to Google Apps for Education, so we can get them working on collaborative writing as early as kindergarten, first grade. Now, their typing skills suck, but they need the practice, right? And this is not a complicated script. Once you write the word manatees once, copy and paste, right? Okay. All right, so now as they're working with their group members on writing a script together, they've got to collaborate on that, which means they've got to work through dialogues and conversations about what to use and where to put it and what should be in there and all of that. So I'm showing you that again because of the core connections that we're making here. All good writing processes include a peer review, right? So if we're using something like Google Docs for the writing process, peer review is very easy. You just invite the peer that's going to be evaluating their piece of work writing. They come over, read the script, and we require that they make some comments and suggestions. They pick up how to use the commenting tools so quickly and easily. You'll be shocked at how quickly they figure out how to do that. And then they get all excited. Like really excited. Okay. Next. Now, finally, we start getting into the multimedia component of this. And I want to stop here for a minute and say, we've already done a whole lot of writing with technology at this point. So, not every student or group necessarily has to create a movie like these girls did. Some of them may want to put it in poster form and do a verbal presentation. And that's okay too. As long as we're giving everybody equal opportunities to work with the technology. What we worry about is kids with a lower socioeconomic status won't get the tech skills that the kids with a higher socioeconomic status get, and we're kind of furthering the digital divide. So we want to make sure that we're encouraging kids of all socioeconomic levels to participate with the tech. That's important because they may not be able to do it at home. Okay? All right. Oh, go back one. Sorry. I forgot what I was saying.
You want me to go back?
Yeah. There we go. All right, as they're selecting their media, now we get to get into conversations about ethics, right? That we don't steal pictures. We can send them to places like creativecommons.org or Free for Teachers, okay? Or, sorry, Pics for Learning is a really good website that you can use too, that have copyright-friendly pictures for education, all right? So we teach kids about how we don't want to steal other people's work. And it's amazing, the more your students create digital products, the more ethical their behavior online becomes. Right? They don't want people stealing their stuff. Well, they're not going to steal other people's stuff. It teaches them really valuable lessons that way. Do you like my flourish?
I'll get used to it.
All right, finally they get to actually make the movie. So now, in addition to our writing skills, we're also layering on the speaking skills. So they're working with their speaking skills to actually read the script with some level of inflection. It depends on the first grader. They have to decide who will say what, so we're into collaboration and everything again. And they finally create their finished product. Does it matter what tool they use to make the movie? Does it have to be Photo Story 3 or iMovie or Movie Maker? No, it doesn't matter. So one of the great things we learned here is that you as educators, you don't have to be masters of every technology that's out there. Because the kids, maybe have played with some apps and know what stuff does, or they know about some websites online, or guess what, they learn it faster than we do. So you just say, we're going to make a movie in iMovie, go. And they'll figure it out almost faster than you know, a lot of We're good.
And there.
One more.
Back.
It's okay.
Oh, up.
Yes. So the reason I put all of the core on the slides is because I wanted you to see the fact that with that one project, which seemed extraordinarily simple and would only take a few days to complete, you just hit every single English language arts Common Core standard that has technology addressed in it. Every single one. And that's actually most of the Common Core. Okay? You just hit huge chunks of it. You can't do that with a quiz. You do little bites of the course. So we just did huge amounts of it in an authentic, real way. This video is up on YouTube. These first graders can show it to grandma and be like, and they're so excited to share that with somebody, and it's their writing that they're sharing, just in a different form, right? Okay. All right. So that's one very simple idea of things that we can do. I mean, they're learning about informational text and how to use it and integrate it and present it to other people. What else can we do? All right. So, as we look at the ways that we can use technology in our classrooms for writing, at the most basic level, tech can help us find inspiration for what we're going to write. Especially with younger kids, sometimes it's hard to just come up with that idea of what to write about, right? When we're working with kindergartners and we're writing maybe, moment stories where they're talking about an important moment, they're only writing a sentence or two. Well, they're concrete learners. It's hard to just kind of imagine something out of their heads. But if we can inspire them with an idea, then that can get the ball rolling. So we have things like Scholastic Story Starters. That thing is freaking awesome. I need to link that for you. I will. But it's like a slot machine, so they push the little spin button, and then it says, okay, you need to write about making friends with an awkward seagull. Yes. Yes, I know. Pretty much, right? So it gives them ideas for the type of stories they're going to write. There's an app. It does, I think it costs like $4. So if you're using iPad apps, Write About This is another one that can give us ideas for things to write about. Very simple, very clean, easy to use for the kids. And again, that Pics for Learning, why don't you just toss up a picture from the internet that's copyright free and we're good to use, and that's going to serve as our inspiration for our story for the day. Okay? So, very, very simple to a little bit more complex, but we can use tech as our inspiration. That's what I say about this one. Okay. Of course, we can have our students using desktop publishing software, so they're just using Word, they're using Pages to write instead of just handwriting. I want to preserve handwriting. I think handwriting is a beautiful thing. Nothing is so unique anymore as receiving a handwritten note. When was the last time you got one? But it's pretty cool. Okay? But they also have got to be able to type proficiently, and so using these tools can help. Also, it tends to be a little bit more motivational for kids to be able to type it. There's still some level of novelty, and they feel like they're doing something like a professional, right? But now we have fairly recently released also software like iBooks Author. So you can download this iBooks Author software, and it actually formats the story as a book that then you can put into iBooks. Cool, right? Okay, sounds cool. All right. Now we can also get into things like online publishing. We've already talked a little bit about Google Docs. I will tell you that last year, one of my grad students did a study on using Google Docs with her 6th graders as a collaborative writing tool. And she found that her students were far more motivated. They actually wrote longer stories. One girl wrote a 20-page story. This is just a personal narrative that they were writing, but she wrote a 20-page story. Because she could do it at home, she could do it at school. It was really exciting. It corrected her spelling. So that was awesome. And actually, she said that the stories were of better quality as well, because the students could, the words would come out a little bit faster for them, right? This is 6th grade, so they're typing fairly proficiently for the most part. So, yeah, really great results from that. Plus, they just loved, again, that it was online, that it lives online. Things like Giggle Poetry, they can write poetry and publish it online there. Studentpublishing.com, same type of thing. They can publish their stories online, real life, for people to read. And because they're kids, one tech we have right now that we have shown to improve kids' writing skills. Okay, and we've been looking at blogging for a long time. When we look at blogging, for example, as opposed to texting or Twitter and of the microblogging type of platforms, right? Real blogging, again, they make people read it, so they work harder on it and try to create a polished, finished product, a little bit better scale, okay? So blogging actually can improve kids' writing. Google obviously has bloggers, so if your district uses Google Apps for Education, you may have access to that, although some of the districts here are kind of restrictive on the blogging, so you might have to talk to your tech coordinators, okay? Kid Blogs is super awesome too. It's a simple interface meant for kids, and you can lock down the security. So just you and the child have access to it and their parents. So it's really nice, okay? All right. Now getting into actually publishing their work and making books out of it, real or digital, okay? So if you want to make a real book, you can do things like Illustory. So you go online, you type out your story, you can scan in pictures and orient it every way you want, and they'll send you an actual book, which is very exciting. And there are lots of other tools like that. I just tried to pick a few, but I didn't want to overwhelm you with like, here are 96 tools you can use to publish a book. Think and Inkit is another really fun one that you can use. As we get into looking at apps, some of the apps you can use to create some really sweet, cute books that they can like, learn the pages on, right? This is how we turn pages now. Okay? Storybook Maker, that's another one I think it costs a few bucks, but it's worth it. It's super cute. And Storybird. So let's click on the link and you can see what a Storybird book looks like. So this is a book that a second grade class worked on together and put together using the Storybird app. And Storybird is a free one. Okay? So if you just want to...
Where am I going to be?
Yeah, just click right there.
Right there.
Yep.
All right.
And it creates this cute little book that you can use with students' drawings. You can import graphics from the internet, whatever it may be. Okay?
No Bob D is buying any ice cream.
From Storybird, ooh, that's a good question. I've never done it because I always just keep them on the app. Now I have to find out. Thank you. Okay, so you can see the type of product that it creates. Very cute, very easy to use. And actually with Storybird, you can start to make the transition into multimedia production because you can add music and voiceovers. So you can have the students reading their own book while it's going. So it becomes kind of an audio-video book process. All right, so go back up into the presentation. Just click on the tab in the middle, the digital writing tab. Okay, and how do I get return to full screen up in the top middle? There you go. All right, next slide. Okay, so as we start getting into actually using digital media production, you guys have done this, but we'll see some examples in a minute, okay? So obviously we can take our writing and put that into simple applications like PowerPoint or Keynote, where they're turning them then into presentation. The writing comes first, right? The conventions still matter, the organization and flow still matters, but we're putting it into presentation form as that creative extra effort to make it authentic and distributable. Digital storytelling, which you should all have done in your instructional media class. Okay, tons and tons of apps that we can use too to bring in now music and voice and everything else. I have no idea what time it is. Yes, I do. I'm really fast. Not remember to finish early. Okay. I talk too fast. Although once in my life, it was the first time ever, I had somebody tell me that I should talk faster. It was a teenage boy. He's not a check. Okay. So as we start to look at all these possibilities for writing with technology, we got to keep in mind, right, that grade level matters. So that goes all the way down to the tools that we'll choose, as well as the approaches that we'll take to the writing. So that first grade example that we saw, the manatees, they used simple tools. Okay, iMovie on the iPad is very easy for kids to manipulate. So we're going to use very simple tools. We're going to have simplified expectations that focuses on the writing. We add the multimedia to it. Okay, so if we're looking at the lower grades, we're looking at K2, early childhood, what kinds of things could we have our students write and create? So we can start with something really simple like alphabet books. They've learned their alphabet, now we're writing simple sentences. Let's put them together. This is kindergarten level, so let's go ahead and click on that link. Kindergarten class, put this together. Okay, right in the middle, put to read. Yep. And then over on the right, here's an arrow. Good. Whoa. Okay? That was not complex. Neither are kindergartners. Okay? So they used digital pictures. They went around, pictures of things. They had typed out, did you notice in the pictures, they had typed out their sentences. Cake and store kitten, like this. They had typed them out, and then taken them with them, and you saw their cute little jelly hands holding them in the pictures, and then put them together into a book. They did that on PowerPoint. Okay? All right, they can do stories about their families, so they can come back and do perhaps a PowerPoint presentation, or maybe a digital story, something simple about their families, and write about that. Okay, prepare to laugh hysterically. Okay, these are, I'm trying to remember, first or second grade boys, and maybe a girl, but I can't tell because they were boys.
I'm learning because you're handsome. I'm running out dragon and really compete with Wikis in the square or even give us just a little. Yeah, you can know that because I'm smart and maybe I can beat you. Laugh, I can beat. I'm learning because I'm so handsome.
Oh, I stopped. Overwhelming, yes. But did they love that? Yeah. Okay. Second graders got to write about dragons flying in and scaring away from the princess would love that for us, so they can improve these. And then for some reason, the chipmunk comes in and saves the day. Right? But they write this creative fantasy story. This is an app called Puppet Pals, and they can drag the little guys on and resize them and have all the fun they want. But again, it's based in the writing. The writing comes first. Okay? Things like telegami, if you haven't played it, watch out. So telegami, you can have a little like talking avatar, and then it can read whatever it is that you can say, a computer voice, in the background. And then you can publish it online, right? So people can see your telegami talking about whatever you learned about. Fabulous. Storybird again we've seen. And what about some simple digital stories? So we saw the manatee one. Let's take a look at a couple of other examples. Yeah, can we turn the volume up?
Bottom left-hand corner is the, no.
Oh, yes, very nice. So as a preface to this one, just so you know what's going on here. Second grade. So again, these are not super complex skills, right? This is second grade using iMovie, and we're practicing summarizing skills. So, just full disclosure here, this is my son. Okay? For a book report for second grade, he had to summarize the plot of the book. That's a tough skill for second graders, to learn to summarize without completely like telling you. So that's what he was working on. And he created a Lego movie out of it. Okay.
This just in from Greece. Zeus and Poseidon were traveling north, seeking Oceanus and the trident. Suddenly, Oceanus attacked. Zeus tossed both to a nearby island to save him from the water. Then Oceanus tossed the boat into the air. Zeus and Poseidon landed in the water with their boat upside down. They got on the boat and started to paddle. Then Poseidon jumped off. He got behind the boat and kicked
a stop motion animation going on. Okay? But he had to write that. And then got to participate in this. And that was awesome. He got shipped to his class. The mom was so cool. Okay? All right, next one.
Oh. How do I
Escape.
No, we didn't just get one.
No?
Okay, go back to present up at the top. No.
No.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Don't
I'm
be.
the worst person. They all know that.
Okay. Now, moving up into 3rd and 4th grade. We can still do all that same stuff at a little bit more advanced level, right? So now as we're getting into 3rd and 4th grade, core is changing a little bit, right? So right now, and we unfortunately didn't finish it, but my 3rd grade now son is completing a how-to. This is new to the core. Okay, we did not previously really have much on writing the steps for completing something, but that's a skill that they're working on now. So, I'm sure you can guess what he might have chosen. Minecraft. Okay, so he decided that he would write his paper on how to build a house in Minecraft. So he started writing with a little outline, and of course his outline included about 3 things, right? It was like, get some oak planks, place them, add stuff. And then we kept working on the writing, because I couldn't do it. I'm a technologist, but I had never played Minecraft before. I am no longer a Minecraft version, and that was exciting. Okay? But I sat down with him and I said, honey, I don't know how to get oak planks. So we have to go back and revise. And his paper is now about a page typed, right? That he's typed out in pages. And now he's turning it into a screencast. So once I could actually go through his paper and complete whatever it was that he was asking me to do, his teacher is asking him for a visual to go along with it. And they can choose what their visual is going to be. So they could create an infographic, they could create a screencast, which is what he's going to do to go along with Minecraft. But there's that element of student choice, right? Okay, 3rd and 4th grade, we can be moving up into keeping blogs and wikis. So they can be blogging about the books they're reading, they can be blogging journal topics, those kinds of things. We can be keeping class wikis about what we're learning about in history or what we're learning about in science, and let's all contribute to that. This is one of my favorite new ones that I found recently. So as we're looking at social studies and trying to integrate writing about history, okay, found this fun one. Oh, go back and click on the link, sorry.
How do I?
Yep, just click right on it. Okay, and then let's zoom, so click the minus. I'm just going to
Yeah, you
It's all good.
That's why I was like, oh, this maybe
I can't. No, I do crazy things in my presentations. Everyone knows this. All right, this young lady by the name of Caitlin was learning about migrations, why people have immigrated from country to country across the eons of time, right? So she went and did her research, similar to what we saw in the Manatees project, but a completely different avenue now. So she went into Google Maps and created waypoints on the map. And so if you click on the point in Ireland, it explains why they left. And she had to write out this informational text, right? And then along the way, what kinds of cultural things did they take with them and contribute in the New World? And then how did they have to adapt to their new home? What did they have to do for that? So all of this writing, again, went into that fairly simple but very authentic project. And we're always going to do more digital stories because they're the awesomest. So that'll be on like every slide. Okay, as we get into 5th and 6th grade, I mean, now it's really opened up. Our 5th and 6th graders, the core is more complex. Their technological proficiency is much more advanced if the 1st, the 2nd, and 3rd, and 4th grade teachers did their jobs. Right? We can't magically expect kids to be great with technology in 5th and 6th grade if the early educators haven't been keeping up, okay? So, you know, historical and cultural presentations, they can really get into publishing books and books of poetry as they're learning about poetry. They can do that collaborative online writing like I mentioned earlier. But what else could they do? Tons. They can be doing regular podcasts, enhanced podcasts, analyzing things that they're learning about. Nancy and I have a friend by the name of Bean. We've been to Bean.
Yeah.
Probably old now. Okay, but Bean, when he was in 4th grade, started a book review blog. So every book that he would read, he would review. He came up with a system to evaluate them, post that to his blog. Students can start to keep a writing portfolio website. Okay, so they can learn how to use something simple, like you guys have learned through Google Sites, to create a website where they can actually house their pieces of writing, as well as all of these creative projects. What's awesome about that is as they get older, they know how to do this. They apply for colleges, they apply for jobs, whatever it may be. They have a portfolio, right? And I'm not saying they're going to keep like their managed project from 1st grade on their portfolio that they're showing, but they could. You're like, I've been using text since I was in 1st grade. But building those real life skills of having a published persona online, Wikipedia pages, Skypes to collaborate with authors across the globe, etc. I mean, there's no limit to this, right? Okay, there's one limit. I lied. Next. You are. Okay, if you can imagine it, they can do it. There's a way to do it. The idea here is you've got to take the writing from the blank page, and that's not to say it can't start there. But we have to move it up into publishable, authentic digital realms, both to build their digital literacy and to help them be motivated and see the relevance of what they're doing. Okay? So, remember that the kids can choose. That's another important concept here. That you don't have to be the keepers of the tech, you don't have to be the masters of the tech. A lot of times, this is a great skill for kids to develop. And it's actually in the Common Core that students will be able to select appropriate technologies to communicate effectively. So it's actually in there now that they should be able to choose. Okay? Questions for me? Please.
So the schools that provide the technology, most schools have, like I heard, like computer labs only available once a week for 1 hour. So that's
Yes.
when you plan your activity.
Yes. Bloodbath battle for the computer lab.
Some of them can't do it at home, so it can all be done in school.
Correct. Yes. So we do have those issues of access, right? And it just depends on your school. We have everything in this valley. We have everything ranging from, we're lucky if the teacher has a computer in their room, to iPads in every hand. Literally, we have that range of tech, okay? So with the lab, use your lab time wisely. Writing itself can take place on the written page in class or through centers if you have a couple of computers in your classroom. The students can do their writing while they're in centers on those computers, right? So when we're in the lab, that's when we get into the creative mode of creating the videos, all that kind of stuff, where we can help the students kind of walk through it as needed. Also, use your tech specialists. Way too often, we're using our tech specialists as like babysitters while they do math drill and practice. Okay? Use your tech specialists to help them make the movies and everything too. That's a really good use of their time.
So usually when you teach this, do you do it in a unit and you take like how long does it usually take to teach and have the students create a movie or a presentation?
Okay. The manatee one, for example, 5 days. Okay? Introduce the unit, choose the topic in about a 30, 45-minute period. And let them kind of get together and start collaborating. Research day, writing day, put the movie together, probably 2 days as they select their media and then actually finalize. Okay? Okay, you don't have to give them much. So, 1st grade, I'm providing the website for them, right? I'm limiting where they're going to do their searching. A lot of it is just to keep them focused. Because otherwise it's like, ooh, websites, right? So keep them focused, get their information quickly. I, in that case, do have a handout, a scaffolding handout, where they can take notes on what they're learning about manatees. And I may even have prompts. What they eat? How do they give birth? Those kinds of things, right? So have it in there. Then as we get into finding images, we're going to have some conversations about using images appropriately and things like that. I'll give them the websites to go to, but it's their selection. So I really changed my role as teacher to the guide, right? And that actually goes along too with, well, kids can't do this at home, and that's true in most cases, or in some cases. Utah, we actually have a very high percentage of students that have access to the internet and to technology at home. Our average is about in the 80 to 95% range of our kids having access, okay? But this is a good argument for doing things like flipped classroom, where they read about things at home and then we're doing project work in class, so that we have the time available to work with them, okay? But we're the guides in this situation, not the lecturers. Other questions? Okay, so on the next slide is my website. I'll go ahead and put this presentation out. It'll have all the links in it and everything, so you can just use it to your heart's content. Steal my son's